Okay, we got it.
You found it?
Yep.
Let's see.
Okay, okay, okay.
Et et 1, 2, A.
Distinguished delegates,
deux.
please take your seats. The work meeting will resume shortly. Please take your seats.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. I invite you to take your seats. We will now begin. Distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be chairing Working Group 2. With your assistance, I expect us to have very fruitful discussions, and I'm sure I can count on your expertise and your full cooperation so that we may reach meaningful results at the end of our endeavors. As the President emphasized this morning, COP-15 and the meetings of the parties to the protocols will be taking place concurrently. Working Group 2 will address the following agenda items. COP-15 agenda items 15A, 17, 18, all the way through to 27. And all agenda items under the Cartagena Protocol, as well as all items on the Nagoya Protocol MOP, except for item 13 on the Global Biodiversity Framework and item 14 on digital sequence information on genetic resources, which will be considered by Working Group 1. Upon concluding its work, Working Group 2 will deliver a set of draft decisions to the COP and to the MOPs, to the Cartagena Protocol and to the Nagoya Protocol. Given our extremely heavy agenda, time management will be very important, and I propose that the limited negotiation time which we have should be used to address new or unresolved issues in draft decisions. These include bracketed text and issues that have not yet been addressed by parties at the intergovernmental level. I kindly ask you to avoid general statements, including statements congratulating me or that repeat points previously raised and discussed at a meeting at one of the subsidiary bodies, especially on those issues for which a comprehensive draft decision has already been prepared by these bodies and where parties were in agreement. In accordance with the proposed organization of work contained in document COP-15 1 add 4, for items with many or complex unresolved issues shown by brackets, it is proposed to establish a contact group with a view to preparing a consensus text that can be transmitted to the working group as a CRP. For items with only a few unresolved issues, it is proposed to directly prepare a CRP with informal consultations with parties when necessary. For those items that have not been addressed by a subsidiary body due to time, will be allocated in the session for a first reading. This is the case for a number of agenda items under the two protocols. However, in the interest of advancing discussions on all items, I kindly urge you to keep your interventions brief and to make full use of the facility for uploading the full statements on the meeting website. With regard to the consideration of items under the Cartagena Protocol and the Nagoya Protocol MOPs by the working group, technical measures are in place to distinguish parties from non-parties, requesting the floor on my screen. For items specific to the protocols, priority in speaking order will be given to the parties to the protocols. I wish to also remind delegates that only parties to the respective instruments can be part of the decision-making process. Before we start considering our first item on the agenda, I would like to give the floor to the Secretariat to introduce the compilations of draft decisions for the COP and COP MOPs. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Document CBD/COP/15/2 is the compilation of draft decisions for consideration by COP-15. The compilation includes the draft decisions contained in the various recommendations prepared at the 23rd and 24th meetings of the subsidiary body on scientific, technical, and technological advice, the third meeting of the subsidiary body on implementation, and the 11th meeting of the ad hoc open-ended working group on Article 8J and related provisions. Where appropriate, additional elements have been developed by the Executive Secretary in light of previous decisions of the Conference of the Parties or recommendations of its subsidiary bodies. These are highlighted in light gray throughout the document. Document CBD/CP/MOP/10/1 Add 5 is the compilation of draft decisions for consideration by COP-MOP-10 of the Cartagena Protocol. This note includes the draft decisions contained in various recommendations from the 24th meeting of the subsidiary body on scientific, technical, and technological advice, the third meeting of the subsidiary body on implementation, and the 16th and 17th meetings of the Compliance Committee under the Cartagena Protocol. It also includes, highlighted in gray, additional elements of draft decisions developed by the Executive Secretary in light of previous decisions by the meeting of the parties. Document CBD NP-MOP-4/1 Add 5 is a compilation of draft decisions for consideration by MOP-4 of the Nagoya Protocol. This note includes the draft decisions contained in various recommendations from the third meeting of the subsidiary body on implementation, meetings of the open-ended working group on the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, and the third meeting of the Compliance Committee under the Nagoya Protocol. It also includes, highlighted in gray, additional elements of draft decisions developed by the Executive Secretary in light of the previous decisions from the meetings of the parties. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I would now ask the Secretariat to provide some logistical information. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, kindly note that assigned seating is limited to 3 per delegation. Any additional members of your delegation may wish to use the free seating at the back of the meeting room. Heads of delegation seated at the table do not need to take a headset at the entrance, as one is already waiting for you on the table. Regarding the use of microphones, if you wish to speak, please press the button in front of you only once. The green light will turn on and we will be notified of your request. Please note that pressing the button twice will cancel the request to speak. When it is your turn to speak, the chair will invite you to speak, the light will turn red, and the technicians will turn on your microphone. Please remove your headset and start speaking. Please remember to speak slowly and clearly so that interpreters can provide a clear translation. Please note that for some delegates from IGOs, Indigenous peoples and local communities, and NGOs who request the floor are identified in our system only by a number and not their organization name. When your microphone is on, please identify your organization before commencing your intervention. With regard to statements made in this working group, delegates are requested to upload them in advance using the online application on the meeting page. This greatly facilitates the work of interpreters. Take note that the statement will be posted on the website after delivery, if you agree to this when uploading. In any case, the statement must be uploaded within 1 hour after the end of the session in which the intervention was made. Please be sure to include the name of your country or organization and the agenda item on the first page of the document. To upload a statement, please select Meeting from the conference page and click the Upload Statements button. You will need to enter your priority passcode or badge number. It is also possible to upload statements via the Schedule tab. It is highly recommended that participants use this tool instead of emailing their statements. In the event that you have technical difficulties uploading your statements, you can still email them to statements@cbd.int. Please note that this statement uploading function is intended only for the working group. It is not in use for contact group sessions. In addition, in an effort to promote paperless meetings, the Secretariat has developed a CBD events application that is available for download free of charge. The app can be downloaded at the following link, which should be showing on the screen. Okay. The app enables participants to download in-session documents, read them on the go, even without internet connection on their mobile devices. The app also provides access to the calendar of events and allows participants to follow any updates in real time. Moreover, it assists participants in creating their schedule and to help them manage their time during this meeting. We hope you will find this useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. In order to use our limited time to discuss substantive matters, I would like to ask you to refrain from making interventions to make editorial comments or comments on the translation in the plenary, but rather to include these comments in your written submissions. We will now take up our first item, the Cartagena Protocol MOP, Item 8, Monitoring and Reporting. First, I would like to invite the Secretariat to introduce the documents for this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The note prepared for this agenda item, CBD/CP/MOP/10/5, addresses both the submission of 4th national reports and preparation for the 5th national reports. The 4th national reports were due in October 2019. Information on the submission of 4th national reports is provided in Section 2 of the document. This section contains an overview of the number of 4th national reports received, addresses the issue of access to funding from the Global Environment Facility for the preparation of the 4th national report, and provides a summary of the review by the Compliance Committee at its 17th meeting of compliance with the obligation to submit a national report. Section 3 describes the process for the development of the format for the 5th national report. The draft format is presented in the annex to the document. As further described in the note, the format for the 5th national report is based on the format for the 4th national report. Information document CBD/CP/MOP/10/INF/3 contains a reference table that shows how questions in the format for the 5th national report correspond to questions from the 4th national report, and which questions are relevant for measuring which indicators of the post-2020 implementation plan. Section 4 presents suggested elements for a decision, incorporating the relevant recommendations made by the Compliance Committee. These elements are reproduced in the compilation of draft decisions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. I would like to remind you that this item has not been addressed by the subsidiary body, and therefore we will have a first reading during this session. Before I open the floor for comments, I would like to invite you to keep your interventions brief, highlighting the main elements of your intervention, and to make use of the facility for uploading the full statement of your intervention on the meeting website. I now open the floor for interventions. As this item is under the Cartagena Protocol, I will give priority to the list of speakers to parties to the protocol. I see no requests for the floor. Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. I apologize. I see New Zealand, followed by Colombia, and then European Union. New Zealand, you have the floor. Can you please give New Zealand the floor? Floor to New Zealand, please. Technical support to New Zealand's mic, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I promise you I will be brief. I did just simply want to say that New Zealand supports parties lodging national reports with the Secretariat on the current quadrennial schedule to help assess parties' compliance with the protocol. However, we would like to note that the footnote to paragraph 5 in the draft decision states that Marshall Islands has not submitted its third national report. New Zealand actually assisted Marshall Islands in filing this report, so we know it's there, and it is found in the BCH, so would like to see that corrected in the record. We can upload something to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you, New Zealand, for that. We'll now hear from Colombia, followed by the European Union. Colombia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colombia considers that the draft decision about the 5th national reports of the implementation of the Cartagena Protocol a good base, including the proposed format contained in the annex of the document are well structured. We only would like to request the inclusion in the paragraph 9A of the draft decision a reference to the capacity building action plan and the respective decision through which it would be adopted. We will submit the comment by writing. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Colombia. We'll now hear from the European Union. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states. The European Union and its member states appreciate 135 parties submitted their complete 4th national reports through the Biosafety Clearing-House. However, we are concerned that these represent only 79 of all parties, while over 90% of parties had submitted their 3rd national reports. We thus urge the parties that have not submitted their 4th national report yet to do so as soon as possible. The EU and its member states would like to express concern about delays by the Global Environment Facility to support eligible parties in the preparation of their 4th national reports. We note that such funding was not available before the deadline for the submission of 4th national report, which is one of the factors that might have affected the low submission rate. This should be accurately reflected in the draft decision. The EU and its member states support the updated draft format for the 5th national report under the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, and we also think that it is important for the reporting of the CBD and its protocol to be synchronized with reporting, ensuring efficiency and quality. Further, we support the recommendation to invite the Global Environment Facility to provide timely funding to support eligible parties in preparation of their 5th national report. Last but not least, we encourage parties to submit their 5th national report fully completed in timely manner via the Biosafety Clearing-House. Information from the 5th national reports will be crucial for measuring progress in the implementation of the protocol and the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. We do have some minor amendments to the draft decision, which we will submit in writing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, European Union. We'll now hear from India. India, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India has submitted the 4th national report and all previous reports on time. We agree that a timely submission of national reports is very important for monitoring as well as assessment of effectiveness of the protocol, and we therefore support the suggestions of the Compliance Committee. And we feel that funding for preparation of national reports should be made available well in time to support parties for timely submission. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. I see no more requests. Oh, sorry. I see now we have another one. Sorry, South Africa. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So South Africa welcomes the draft decision for monitoring and review. We also note the challenges experienced by parties in accessing global environmental facility resources to support the preparation of their fourth national reports. And we believe this is one of the factors that may have affected the submission rate and contributed to the non-compliance to the Biosafety Protocol, and as reported by the Compliance Committee. South Africa welcomes the draft format for the fifth national reports and requests that when making any necessary adjustments to the questions, the Secretariat should also make use of indicators of the capacity building plan as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, South Africa. I now see no more requests for the floor. Malaysia. Thank you. Malaysia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malaysia urges the Secretariat to continue to provide the two valuable guidance documents to assist the parties in the preparation of the fifth national report. One such document is the FAQ for the fifth national report. Another document is the reference table that indicates the changes made to questions in the fifth national report in relation to the fourth national report, including, as applicable, how the questions related to the indicators in the post-2020 implementation plan, capacity action plan for the Cartagena Protocol, and monitoring for the biosafety component of the post-2020 global biodiversity framework. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's it. I see we have no more requests for the floor. And I also see that we have a lot of common understanding on the draft decision. As such, I'll prepare a conference room paper with the help of the Secretariat. We will now move on to item 10 of the Nagoya Protocol, MOP, on monitoring and reporting. First, I would like to invite the Secretariat to introduce the documents for this item.
Thank you, Chair. In preparation for the next reporting cycle under the Nagoya Protocol, the COP-MOP, at its third meeting, had requested the Executive Secretary to review the reporting format, taking into account comments received from parties, input from the Compliance Committee, the framework of indicators contained in Annex to Decision NP-3/1 on the assessment and review, the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, and the alignment of national reports under the Convention and its protocols. In this context, the COP-MOP has before it document CBD/NP/MOP/4/7. This document provides an update on the submission of interim national reports in Section 2, followed by a summary of the elements considered in the review of the reporting format in Section 3. Section 4 provides a tentative timeline for processes under the Nagoya Protocol, which are linked to the submission of national reports. And Section 5 contains the elements of a draft decision, as well as the revised format for the first national report. Further, a reference table showing the revisions to the format for the first national report as compared to the format for the interim national report is provided in information document CBD/NP/MOP/4/INF/5. the draft decision for consideration by the meeting of the parties, including the format for the first national report in Annex, is reproduced in the compilation of draft decisions in document CBD/NP/MOP/4/1 add 5. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. Like the previous item, this item has not been addressed by a subsidiary body, and therefore we'll have a first reading during this session. Kindly keep your interventions brief and make use of the facility of uploading the full statement of your intervention on the meeting website. I now open the floor for interventions. As this item is under the Nagoya Protocol, I give priority in the list of speakers to parties in the Nagoya Protocol. I see on my speaker list United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and European Union, followed by Japan. So we'll first hear from the UK, followed by the European Union. UK, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The UK is grateful for the work of the Executive Secretary in reviewing the reporting format with input from the Compliance Committee to ensure fulfilment of Article 29 of the Nagoya Protocol. Interim national reports on the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol are key to reviewing the effectiveness of the protocol. The UK believes that national reports could serve to provide information for measuring progress towards ABS-related goals and targets, subject to agreement by parties of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. We acknowledge the need to maintain a synchronised reporting cycle and therefore welcome the suggestion to commence the reporting cycle in 2025. We further support the guidelines and format for submission of the first national report on the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol as contained in the annex to the present decision, but agree that the format should be kept under review based on feedback from parties. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UK. We'll now hear from the European Union, followed by Japan, then Argentina. European Union, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The EU and its member states take note of the information provided by the Executive Secretary. We welcome the high rate of submissions of the interim national reports by parties and highlight the importance of national reports for the full and effective implementation of the Nagoya Protocol, as well as for providing key information for the assessment and review of the protocol and promoting compliance. The first assessment and review of the effectiveness of the protocol concluded that more experience and implementation efforts are needed under the Nagoya Protocol before a meaningful conclusion can be reached about its effectiveness in achieving its objectives. Since the first assessment and review of the protocol, additional experience with its implementation has been gained, and it will be important to report on such experience in the next reporting cycle. In addition, discussions in the context of the post-2020 GBF related to an ABS goal and target, as well as discussion on digital sequence information, have raised the need to streamline and make ABS rules simpler and more effective in order to fulfill the third objective of the CBD. In our view, this is an aspect that would deserve further consideration in the next assessment and review of the effectiveness of the protocol. Another important aspect is that information on the benefits derived from ABS agreements is very limited and not often specific of the type and quantity of the benefits shared. Information on benefits shared is often confidential. There is a need to make this information available, also with a view to contribute to the next cycle of reporting in the context of the post-2020 GBF, as the monitoring framework will have to include indicators on benefits shared. We therefore welcome the revised questions concerning benefits shared, as they are now in template of the report. The second assessment and review, based inter alia on consideration of national reports, will therefore be crucial. The EU and its member states support postponing the submission deadline of the first national report under the Nagoya Protocol until 30 June 2025 in order to maintain the synchronized national reporting cycle under the Convention and the Protocol. We welcome the revised reporting format for the first national report on the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol and appreciate that it has been improved considering the comments by countries and the Compliance Committee. We support the adoption of the guidelines and format for submission of the first national report. Regarding the draft decision, we are of the view that indicators to be developed for ABS in the context of the post-2020 GBF should be relevant both nationally and globally, and suggest to include this reference to the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. Now we will hear from Japan, followed by Argentina, then South Africa. Japan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very brief, with respect to the designation of competent national authority, CNA, we recognize that if the party to the Nagoya Protocol decides not to prepare an ABS legislation as a country of origin of genetic resources, Article 13.2 is not applicable in the party, which means CNA does not necessarily need to be designated. Therefore, hopefully it would be better if the gist is specified in the Annex Part 2, Number 4 of the format for the first national report on the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. We'll now hear from Argentina, followed by South Africa, then Malawi. Argentina, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, señor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My delegation considers, in general terms, appropriate the draft decision and the annex that gives the format for the first national report on the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. On this, we would like to suggest a modification as regards question number 34 on the existence of Indigenous peoples and local communities at a national level. Given that there is not yet a definition that allows us to differentiate between Indigenous peoples from local communities within the Convention and the Protocol, my delegation considers that the request to separately identify the existence of these at a national level would not be appropriate and could lead to mistaken interpretations. Therefore, Argentina requests that we should change this question so that we simply request to report whether Indigenous peoples and local communities exist or not at a national level without differentiating between the two. My delegation would be interested in continuing with the conversation in the Convention and the Protocol in order to understand ways of making this differentiation so that we can establish clear guidance to be able to answer this question in future opportunities. And we have put in this request for an amendment by writing. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Argentina. We will now hear from South Africa, followed by Malawi, then the Democratic Republic of the Congo. South Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. South Africa welcomes the note prepared by the Executive Secretary, and South Africa understands that the submission of national reports is a key obligation for parties to the protocol to enable decisions to promote compliance and effective implementation of the protocol. South Africa noted the comments and input provided by parties, non-parties, and by the Compliance Committee on the reporting format, and support adoption of the guidelines and the revised format for submission of the first national report on the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol, with an understanding that this may need to be revised once the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework and its monitoring framework are agreed to in order to avoid duplication and streamline reporting. South Africa has noted the implications of the agreed synchronized national reporting cycle under the Convention and its protocol, which was largely due to the delays in convening the current COP and COP-MOP meetings. We support a proposal to postpone the submission deadline of the first national report under the Nagoya Protocol to align with the submission deadline of the seventh national report in view of maintaining the synchronized reporting cycle foreseen in the previous COP decision and COP-MOP decision. In terms of the cost implications for preparing the reports, we support the invitation to the GEF to make financial resources available in a timely manner to the eligible parties to assist them in meeting their reporting obligations under the protocol. The increasing number of parties to the Nagoya Protocol should also be taken into consideration when allocating resources. South Africa further commits to submit complete and accurate information in its national report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, South Africa. We'll now hear from Malawi, followed by the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then the Côte d'Ivoire. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malawi welcomed the draft reporting format as an improved version of the previous one and recognizes the need to complete and accurate information for reporting progress towards implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. Malawi agrees with the need to keep the format of the national report under review based on the feedback received from parties and the experience gained, but also bearing in mind that the post-2020 framework is not yet adopted and potential section might need to be included in the reporting format based on what is going to be agreed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Malawi. We'll now hear from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, followed by Côte d'Ivoire, India, and then Kenya. Democratic Republic of Congo, the floor is yours.
Okay, merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for affording me the floor. Now, I'm taking the floor on behalf of the Africa Group. The African Group, when it comes to the content and structure of the report, as I said, the African Group believes that this content and the structure of the report is, generally speaking, acceptable. However, when it comes to the format of the report, the African Group would ask for clarifications to be provided regarding a few questions. For example, questions 4 and 5, when we have to say, has your country designated their competent authorities? Same for the control point. A number of responses also require more characters to be able to answer fully. When it comes to the indicator, Africa does back the indicators within the framework of the post-2020 follow-up. It has to be defined in terms of the model of the report and take into account the sharing of benefits. When it comes to the periodicity of the report, we welcome the guidelines as well as the model for presentation of the first national report for the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. And we champion a harmonized and synchronized cycle of reporting on the convention and its protocols. However, we would propose a unique cycle of 4 years for all of the reporting, and we would propose that the deadline be aligned at 2026 instead of 2025, given the current negotiation context. And we'd also like to back what was said by the representative of South Africa, namely that Africa stresses the need for capacity building and capacity bolstering, as well as a transfer of technologies to back the drafting of reports. To this end, we would request from the GEF that the reports, or rather that the parties draft their reports in a timely way, and to ensure that they do this, the necessary funds will have to be made available to them to ensure that they work efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from Côte d'Ivoire, followed by India, then Kenya. The floor is yours, Côte d'Ivoire.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for affording me the floor. Now, Côte d'Ivoire would, in its statement, like to back that made by the DRC on behalf of the African group, and also to state that the model for the report, as she said, is acceptable. However, there are a number of questions as part of the document on which additional analysis will be necessary. Can we perhaps look at all of these questions which we raised to ensure that they are reflected and to see how they can be taken into account? Now, a further thing, Côte d'Ivoire welcomes the synchronized reporting cycle, and we would like to have the date of 30th of June 2025 be moved to 2026. We'd also like the indicators regarding access, questions related to access, be taken into account. We have noticed that the indicators which have been elaborated only take into account the framework, and we would like them to address something beyond that. When we look at the structure and of the model of the report, the structure does take into account the various provisions of the Nagoya Protocol, and this is what we're reporting on. So if for every element we could come up with indicators, we would promote the follow-up of the framework. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Côte d'Ivoire. We will hear from India now, followed by Kenya. India, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India appreciates the efforts made by the Secretariat for developing guidelines and format for the first national report on the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. We also welcome the draft decision on keeping the format of the national report under review as based on the feedback received and experience gained. We support the draft recommendations relating to monitoring and reporting. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. We'll now hear from Kenya. Kenya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kenya notes the desirability of developing nationally relevant indicators for access and benefit sharing in the context of post-2020 global biodiversity framework. We welcome the extension of the deadline for the submission of the first national reports under the Nagoya Protocol to 30th June 2025 to allow for the synchronization of the national reporting cycle together with the convention. We welcome the guidelines and the format for the submission of the first national report of the implementation of the protocol as contained in the annex. And we also reiterate the need for financial resources made available in a timely manner to the eligible parties to assist them in meeting their obligation for the reporting and also in the preparation of the first national report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. I do not see any more requests for the floor. I believe we have more or less a common understanding on this draft decision. Those areas where there is disparity, we will consult with parties when preparing the conference room paper. So therefore, we will now move ahead and prepare that with the help of the Secretariat. Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation. We will now move ahead to the next item. That would be item 9 of the Cartagena Protocol MOP, which is the assessment and review of the effectiveness of the protocol, Article 35, and final evaluation of the strategic plan for the Cartagena Protocol on biosafety for the period of 2011 to 2020. I would like to draw your attention to the draft decision in document CBD CP-MOP-10 1 add 5. As you can see, we have a draft decision posed to us by SBI 3 that is largely clean text, but also contains a number of brackets around issues that could not be resolved by SBI. The brackets appear in paragraphs 5, 6, and 10, in paragraph 13, in paragraphs 16 to 18, in paragraphs 21 to 25, in paragraphs 29 to 31, and finally in paragraph 52. I would like to draw your attention to information document CP-MOP-10 Inf 2, which provides an update of data from the 4th national reports presented in the analysis of the 4th assessment and review of the effectiveness of the protocol and the final evaluation of the strategic plan. The document was prepared at the request of the SBI in light of the numerous additional 4th national reports received since the analysis was originally prepared. The document identifies 2 paragraphs in the draft decision from SBI where numbers should be updated, namely paragraphs 8 and 33. The update has been reflected in the compilation of the draft decisions. As this item has been considered by a subsidiary body, we will not undertake a first reading. Rather, I will work with the Secretariat to prepare a CRP with the consideration later in our meeting. The CRP will contain compromise proposals to address the bracketed text. I will use previously agreed text and also add preambular paragraphs to assist in formulating these proposals. I will, of course, remain conscious of the need to maintain balance among the different views in the text. I will also note that the paragraphs with guidance to the GEF will be moved to the draft decision for the item on the financial mechanism, so that they will not be included in the CRP on assessment and review. Can I take that this is acceptable to the room? Is this procedure acceptable? Thank you very much. Now we will move to item 11 of the Cartagena Protocol MOP on operation and activities of the Biosafety Clearing-House. First, I would like to invite the Secretariat to introduce the documents for this first item.
Thank you, Chair. In decision CP-9/2, the Executive Secretary was requested A, to allocate resources for the management and improvement of the Biosafety Clearinghouse, B, to complete the migration of the Biosafety Clearinghouse to its new platform, C, to continue making improvements to the Biosafety Clearinghouse, and D, to facilitate the development of training materials, including online trainings based on the new platform and user interface. In light of the above, the meeting of the parties to the Cartagena Protocol will be invited to consider this agenda item on the basis of document CBD/CP/MOP/10/7, containing a summary report on the activities undertaken in response to decision CP-9/2. The document also includes, in section 9, suggested elements for a draft decision. The proposed draft decision has been included in the compilation of draft decisions. The working document MOP/10/7 is complemented by 2 information documents. Information document CBD/CP/MOP/10/INF/7 outlines key features and developments on the new platform of the Biosafety Clearinghouse, highlighting key changes from the previous platform. The annex to this information document contains all offline common formats. In addition, a needs assessment survey report on the Biosafety Clearinghouse conducted by the UNEP-GEF BCH3 project has been made available as information document CBD/CP/MOP/10/INF/8. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. This item has not been addressed by a subsidiary body and therefore will have a first reading during this session. I would like to remind you to please keep your interventions brief and to make use of the facility for uploading the full statement of your intervention on the meeting website. I will now open the floor for interventions. I will give priority to parties to the Cartagena Protocol on biosafety. I see South Africa, followed by the European Union, then Brazil. South Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. South Africa speaks on behalf of the Africa Group. Africa appreciates the elements of the draft decision under this agenda item. We also note the challenges experienced by the Secretariat in undertaking the migration processes. Africa further invites the Global Environmental Facility to continue providing support for new and global and regional BCH projects to enhance capacity in various CBD clearing-house mechanisms, including the new platform. Africa, therefore, supports the recommendation for UNEP to institutionalize the risk assessment system as a means of ensuring its longevity and sustainability after the PCH3 project. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the European Union, followed by Brazil. European Union, please.
Madam, I'm speaking on behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states. The EU and its member states appreciate the activities undertaken by the Secretariat in the previous intersessional period regarding the operation and migration of the Biosafety Clearing-House. The great efforts resulting in a complete redesign and recoding of the platform, now providing modern, user-friendly web page and enabling to install joint modalities for the operation of the 3 clearinghouses under the Convention and its protocols. We, therefore, welcome the launch of the new Biosafety Clearing-House platform. Taking that into account, and as the Biosafety Clearing-House is an important tool for the implementation of the Cartagena Protocol and for capacity building actions, we suggest adding a preambular paragraph to the decision to reflect this. That said, we note that several activities indicated in the chronogram for the migration of the Biosafety Clearing-House are still ongoing, and thus we request the Executive Secretary to complete the migration process in the coming intersessional period to make the new platform fully operational. Furthermore, we wish to emphasize the need to find a coordinated approach for a web strategy of the online forums and the need for their migration to the new platform. Additionally, we would like to stress that the linkage between the Cartagena Protocol on biosafety and their respective knowledge management component of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework through the Biosafety Clearing-House should be ensured when updating the Biosafety Clearing-House. Therefore, we propose adding an additional paragraph in the draft decision to reflect that. To ensure the sustainability and further development of the Biosafety Clearing-House, the EU and its member states suggest adding a new para 9a, requesting to continue allocating adequate and specific resources, both human and financial, for the management, maintenance, and improvement of the Biosafety Clearing-House. We appreciate the large increase in the number of submissions to the Biosafety Clearing-House. However, we recognize that some records might be outdated, and then, therefore, call upon parties, other governments, and other organizations to make revisions as necessary and in timely manner. Hereby, the EU and its member states commit to review records and continue publishing the information available at the EU and national level on the Biosafety Clearing-House. The EU and its member states welcome the collaboration activities of the Executive Secretary with other biosafety-related organizations, in particular with OECD and FAO, and support its continuation in the coming intersessional period. We will submit our amendments to the text of the draft decision in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, EU. We'll now hear from Brazil, followed by India, then the Republic of Korea. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep my comments brief in the interest of time. Brazil welcomes the draft decision of the Biosafety Clearing-House. We only have one request on paragraph 9, and that is to replace the phrase to continue developing capacity building materials with the following, and I quote, to develop capacity building material if necessary and in line with priorities identified by parties, end of quote. And the reason being is that the Secretariat can concentrate its work on those priorities. And that being said, we will submit those suggestions in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. We'll now hear from India, followed by the Republic of Korea, then Kenya. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India welcomes the completion of migration of BCH to a new platform. The new platform has a user-friendly interface. The linkage between BCH and national level BCH is extremely important, and we look forward to a harmonized approach. While the tools are in place, it is extremely important for parties to provide updated information, thereby contributing to usefulness of BCH. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. We'll now hear from Republic of Korea, followed by Kenya, then Ghana. Republic of Korea, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, the Republic of Korea appreciate the Secretariat for their effort to develop the new BCH central portal and to migrate all the data. And also, we would like to thank the parties involved for their active participation in error correction to ensure that the new platform can be quickly established. BCH is a key tool that performs an indispensable function in the implementation of Cartagena Protocol and needs continuous effort for its capacity building. Therefore, the continuous support of UNEP-GEF has been very important, and voluntary cooperation between the parties within the region is also crucial. Korea is preparing a GEF project with UNEP and 4 Asian countries to cooperate at the regional and sub-regional level for maximizing synergies and for sharing of experiences, information, and expertise. With this effort, Korea plans to provide continuous support to facilitate regional cooperation among the BCHs. Thank you.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. We'll now hear from Kenya, followed by Ghana and Guatemala. Kenya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kenya supports South Africa and welcomes the migration of the central port of the Biosafety Clearing-House to its new platform and the improvement made in accordance with the joint modalities of operation of the Biosafety Clearing-House of the Convention, the Biosafety Clearing-House. Kenya also further supports the call for UNEP-GEF to continue with capacity building to parties on how to access, navigate, and post biosafety information in the new BCH platform. Kenya finally supports the need to continue developing capacity building materials and perform trainings on the new functionalities of the BCH, including as a contribution to the key activities highlighted in the capacity building action plan. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. We'll now hear from Ghana, followed by Guatemala, then Mexico. Ghana, you have the floor. Can you give Ghana the floor, please? May Ghana get the floor, please? May Ghana get the floor, please?
Yes. Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity. Ghana supports the intervention made by South Africa on behalf of Africa, and we welcome the new platform for the clearinghouse for biosafety. but we also want to use the opportunity to reiterate the need for support for the clearinghouse, especially at the national level, to ensure that it becomes very functional. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ghana. We will now hear from Guatemala, followed by Mexico, then Burkina Faso. Would you give the floor to Guatemala, please?
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. We would like to thank and congratulate the Secretariat for the efforts that have been made with updating the BCH and the migration of most information to the Biosafety Clearinghouse. When it comes to capacity building material that's available on the platform, the quality and quantity has been improving, and this has been well received by those who are involved in awareness raising at a national level. So it's important to develop more interactive material and videos and infographics which can give a general overview of what we're talking about when we talk about implementation of the Cartagena protocol, and that can be useful for a wider public. At the same time, we think that it's important to implement the Bioland tool for parties who have not been able to establish their national clearinghouses yet, so that they can use this opportunity. Finally, we'd like to support the proposed decision on the Biosafety Clearinghouse. Thank you.
Thank you, Guatemala. We'll now hear from Mexico, followed by Burkina Faso, then Malawi. Mexico, you have the floor.
Gracias.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mexico would like to thank the Secretariat for the report on the activities on the 3 sessions that have been held on the Biosafety Clearinghouse. At the same time, we would like to recognize the efforts and the coordination that has been made to achieve migration to the new platform. Given this, we would like to encourage to have higher quality access and translation of the material that's made available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mexico. We'll hear from Burkina Faso, then Malawi, followed by Malaysia. Burkina Faso, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Burkina Faso would like to support a statement made by South Africa on behalf of the Africa Group. We recognize the importance and the role played by the Biosafety Clearing-House when it comes to implementation and risk assessment of GMOs at a national level. We'd like to congratulate the Secretariat for achieving the migration to the new platform. We would also like to inform the Secretariat to multiply its efforts in terms of capacity building so that they can be better used and increased accessibility to this new platform at a national level. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Burkina Faso. We'll now hear from Malawi, followed by Malaysia, then Uganda. Malawi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malawi supports the statement by South Africa on behalf of Africa. Malawi recognizes the importance of the Biosafety Clearing-House as a key source of information that supports national decision-making. Malawi acknowledges efforts made so far in building the technical capacity on the use of the BCH and requests further support on this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Malawi, and thank you for your brevity. We'll hear from Malaysia now, followed by Uganda and Eswatini. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malaysia supports the development of further capacity building projects related to the Biosafety Clearinghouse, specifically for awareness and training that focuses on familiarization of the new platform to encourage utilization of the Biosafety Clearinghouse and subsequent compliance. In addition, we support the suggestion that the Global Environment Facility allocates funding specifically for this purpose. Malaysia takes notes of the progress and urges the Secretariat to continue pursuing collaborative activities between other biosafety databases of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the Biosafety Clearinghouse for information integration. Malaysia also supports the suggestions to review the records in the Biosafety Clearinghouse and ensure updated information is provided, specifically for country decision and relevant risk assessment reports are provided to ensure that there is cohesiveness in the information available in the various biosafety databases. Thank you.
Thank you, Malaysia. We'll have then Uganda, followed by Eswatini, and then finally Dominican Republic. Uganda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Uganda supports South Africa's position on behalf of Africa with regard to the Biosafety Clearing-House, and also welcomes the migration to the new platform, which is actually more interactive and also very useful in elements of risk analysis. We take note of the capacity building efforts ongoing, especially the most recent one, and encourage more continued technical cooperation mechanisms to ensure that capacity building is strengthened at all levels and also incorporate the element of sustainability moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from Eswatini, followed by Dominican Republic, and we have the opportunity to hear from OECD as well. Eswatini, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Kingdom of Eswatini supports the statement made on behalf of the African Group, also appreciates the elements of the draft decision and welcomes the migration to the new BCH platform. The Kingdom notes the importance of the BCH in all activities that surrounds biosafety and further invites the GEF and the developed world to make funds available for capacity building in member states in order to ensure their compliance as well as for them to effectively use the platform to their benefit. I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Eswatini. We'll now hear from the Dominican Republic, followed by Belarus, then the OECD. Dominican Republic, please, you have the floor.
The Dominican Republic delegation considers that it's important to strengthen capacity building when it comes to the Biosafety Clearinghouse. We'd also like to highlight the efforts made by the Secretariat to migrate to the new platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from Belarus. And I see Democratic Republic of Congo got in. So we'll hear from Belarus, followed by Democratic Republic of Congo. Then lastly, we'll have OECD. Belarus, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I'm going to be very brief. Now, Belarus wishes to thank the Secretariat in a very heartfelt way for the work carried out on migration, as well as the clearinghouse on the Biosafety Clearinghouse and its migration to a new platform. We take into account the fact that the clearinghouse was moved to a new platform, and for this reason, we back the necessity to build up the necessary capacities on this new platform and back the GEF allocating the necessary funds so people can train to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The floor is yours.
Merci, Madame.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you for affording me the floor. The DRC would simply like to back the statement made by the Republic of South Africa on behalf of the African Group, and we wish to congratulate the Secretariat upon the migration towards the new platform. And we would like to back the statements which were made by other African states regarding the importance of capacity building for better use of this Biosafety Clearinghouse. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear finally from OECD. Please, OECD, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a great pleasure for the OECD to participate in the 10th meeting of the COP-MOP. The OECD appreciates the good collaboration developed with the CBD Secretariat over the past years, especially for harmonizing the content of and facilitating the exchange of data among the Biosafety Clearinghouse, the OECD Biotra Product Database, and the FAO GM Foods Platform. In December 2020, having further collaborations in longer term was also confirmed at 11th meeting of the Informal Advisory Committee to the BCH. We wish to work together with the BCH Secretariats and the FAO to better serve the users of information on LMOs and to enhance information in the databases each other. In this line, following the successful use of unique identifier for plants, we will continue exploring the possibility to develop unique identifiers for living modified animals. The OECD looks forward to strengthening our collaboration as mentioned in the draft decision, paragraph 7 of document CBD/CP/MOP/10/1/@5. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I see no more requests to the floor, and I see that we have more or less a common understanding on the draft decision. As such, I'll prepare a conference room paper with the help of the Secretariat. However, I suggest that paragraph 6, related to the guidance of the Global Environmental Facility, be moved to the part of the draft decision on the financial mechanism, such that all guidance can be consolidated and transmitted to the COP. Thank you. We will now move to the next item. The next item is item 6 of the Nagoya Protocol MOP on the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse and Information Sharing, Article 14. First, I would like to invite the Secretariat to introduce the documents for this item. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. The document for this agenda item is CBD/NP/MOP/4/6. This document contains information on the progress made in the operation of the ABS Clearinghouse and proposes priorities for its future implementation and administration for the consideration of the meeting of the parties to the Nagoya Protocol. The Informal Advisory Committee, which played a crucial role in advising the Secretariat on priorities for the implementation of the ABS Clearinghouse, held one meeting during the intersessional period, and the outcomes of the work of the committee have been made available as information document CBD/NP/ABSCH-IAC/2019/1/3. Elements of a draft decision are set out in document CBD/NP/MOP/4/6. These elements have also been reproduced in the compilation of draft decisions CBD/NP/MOP/4/1/5. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. Like the previous item, this item has not been addressed by the subsidiary body, and therefore we'll have a first reading during this session. I now open the floor for interventions. I will give priority to parties to the Nagoya Protocol. So we are now opening the floor for interventions. I see the European Union. The European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The EU and its member states express their appreciation to the Executive Secretary for her work and progress in making the ABS Clearinghouse operational, and note with appreciation the steady increase of national records. However, despite the increase, the amount of information that is available on the ABS Clearinghouse remains rather low, in particular for information related to access and benefit sharing competent national authorities, measures, and procedures. We therefore stress the importance of making available any information on ABS measures, as well as other relevant information necessary to support the effective implementation of the Nagoya Protocol to the ABS Clearinghouse, and reiterate our call on parties and other governments to publish or update all relevant ABS information. In particular, we note with concern that while a considerable number of parties declared in their interim national reports having ABS measures in place, only a small portion of them made those measures available in the ABS Clearinghouse. There is an urgent need to fill this gap of information. We are also concerned that many countries continue to lack understanding of the protocol system for monitoring utilization of genetic resources, as reported in Annex 2 of the report summarizing the discussion at the Global Monitoring Workshop held in Bonn in 2019. We wish to recall that the monitoring obligations under the Nagoya Protocol are binding provisions upon all parties. Therefore, we consider a priority to continue to raise awareness and build capacity to increase understanding and promote the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol's provisions on monitoring. In line with this, we found the Global Monitoring Workshop very useful and would welcome and stand ready to support any future similar initiatives. We take note of the continuous need for raising awareness and capacity building to encourage and assist parties with the publication of all available national information in the ABS Clearinghouse. Finally, we would like to thank the Informal Advisory Committee on the ABS Clearinghouse for their valuable contribution to the ongoing work. The EU and its member states support the priorities for further development and administration of the ABS Clearinghouse as identified by the committee. The EU and its member states support the draft decision with two additional suggestions. In paragraph 6, we propose to add "and development" after the capacity building on the second line, in line with the respective decision of CBD COP-15. We also propose an additional paragraph to ensure that the knowledge management component of the GBF will be taken into account when updating, as appropriate, the ABS Clearinghouse. Thank you very much.
Thank you, EU. We'll now hear from South Africa, followed by India, then the United Kingdom. South Africa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. South Africa welcomes the progress contained in the document prepared by the Executive Secretary in the operation of the ABS Clearinghouse, including efforts made by parties, non-parties, IPLC, and relevant stakeholders in making information available in the ABS Clearinghouse as a crucial action to the successful implementation of the protocol. South Africa notes with appreciation the analysis provided regarding the nature of the records, including the contributing parties, non-parties, and IPLC and other stakeholders, which gives a better perspective of activities undertaken to implement the protocol both at national and regional levels. South Africa noted the lack of analysis of parties that have made use of the interoperability mechanism of the ABS Clearinghouse and wish to further request the Executive Secretary to continue with capacity building activities, including those related to setting up national ABS electronic permitting system and other relevant information technology system that make use of the interoperability mechanism of the ABS Clearinghouse. South Africa has recently concluded its national ABS electronic permitting system and is planning to explore the interoperability mechanism of the ABS Clearinghouse. South Africa supports the overall draft decision proposed and has made some few text proposals to some of the draft decision and will be submitted as an annex to this statement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, South Africa. We'll now hear from India, followed by UK, then Switzerland. India, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India appreciates the effort made by the CBD Secretariat in developing the goals and priorities for further implementation and administration of the ABS Clearinghouse, the joint modalities of operation for the clearinghouse mechanism of the convention, the Biosafety Clearing-House and the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearing-House, and the Global Capacity Building Workshop on monitoring the utilization of genetic resources under the Nagoya Protocol. We welcome the progress made in this regard. We have taken note of the goals and priorities for further implementation and administration of ABS Clearinghouse for the coming biennium. With these remarks, we support the draft decision on this agenda item. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. We'll now hear from UK, followed by Switzerland, then Argentina. The UK, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The UK welcomes the progress made by the Secretariat over the intersessional period in the development and administration of the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse. We support the continued focus on the goals and priorities as provided in the annex to the decision NP-3/3 to recognise the progress made towards these goals and on these priorities, and to ensure that further work builds on what has already been achieved. We propose a small addition to paragraph 7. The paragraph would therefore read, requests the Executive Secretary, taking into account the progress already made, and continue as drafted. We appreciate all efforts by parties to make information available on the ABS Clearinghouse, and we are pleased to see the continued increase in the number of national records published. The Clearinghouse plays an important role in the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol, specifically the transfer of information between providers and users and national authorities. The UK is pleased to share that we have recently published 3 checkpoint communiques, and at least 5 are ready to be published. These checkpoint communiques are from a range of UK users who have accessed genetic resources from a range of countries. It is always rewarding to see the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol in action. We look forward to attending the ABS Clearinghouse workshop on the 11th of December and thank the Executive Secretary for the opportunity. We will submit our comments in writing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. UK, we'll hear from Switzerland, followed by Argentina, then Kenya. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Switzerland welcomes the progress made by the Secretariat in the development and administration of the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse, the work done by the Informal Advisory Committee, as well as efforts made by parties, non-parties, IPLCs and relevant stakeholders to make information available in the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse. At the same time, we would also like to reiterate that the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse plays a key role as the central platform for facilitating the exchange of information relevant to the implementation of the protocol, and that it is essential that clear, comprehensive and updated information is available on the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse. Switzerland therefore urges parties, as well as non-parties, that have not yet done so, to publish all mandatory information available at the national level in the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse as soon as possible. This is of crucial importance to facilitate the access to and the utilization of genetic resources, which forms the basis for effective benefit sharing. Regarding the further steps to implement, maintain and use of the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse, Switzerland supports the elements outlined in the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Switzerland. We'll now hear from Argentina, followed by Kenya. Argentina, the floor is yours.
Gracias, señora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation wishes to support this draft decision on the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse under Article 14 of the Protocol. On this matter, my delegation wishes to express that it has experienced difficulties when it comes to matching the allocation of existing platform user roles with the authorities under the Argentinian institutional structure. So my delegation would like to request to the Secretariat that it continue to explore ways of improving the platform of the ABS Clearinghouse, including through increased flexibility in the designation of inter alia authorized national users, public authorities, or rather publishing authorities and national competent authorities. And we will hand over in writing suggested amendments in line with this request. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Argentina. We'll now hear from Kenya, please. Kenya, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Kenya welcomes the progress made by the Secretariat in the development and administration of the Access and Benefit Sharing Clearinghouse. Kenya has made progress in this area, published information on access and benefit sharing in accordance the obligation of Article 14, paragraph 2 of the protocol. I'm glad to announce that Kenya has about 94 international recognized certificate of compliance in the clearinghouse, which is #1 in Africa. The information is essential for the implementation of the protocol, and Kenya has made use of the interoperability mechanism of the access and benefit sharing clearinghouse to facilitate information exchange with the online licensing system currently under development. Kenya notes the need for more support on capacity building and awareness activities related to the protocol system for monitoring and the utilization of genetic resources, and support capacity building activities, including that related to implementing an online national access and benefit sharing permitting systems, and the relevant information technology systems that make use of the interoperability mechanisms of the access and benefit sharing clearinghouse. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenya. I see no more, okay, I do see one more. I see United Republic of Tanzania. You may have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. United Republic of Tanzania support the statement made by South Africa on behalf of Africa. And further, we appeal for the further support on capacity building or for increasing the understanding of the provision under the protocol, so that to have the effective implementation of the protocol. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, United Republic of Tanzania. I now see no more requests for the floor. I see that we have a lot of common understanding on the draft decision. So as such, I'll prepare a conference room paper with the help of the Secretariat. Thank you. We will now move on to the next item. This item is item 14 of the Cartagena Protocol MOP. Risk Assessment and Risk Management, Article 15 and 16. I would remind you now that this item has been considered in depth by SAPSTR 24. While the subsidiary body on scientific, technical, and technological advice made great progress in the consideration of this matter, agreement could not be reached on all aspects of the draft decision. And therefore, the text you will have before you in document CBD CP-MOP-10 at 5 still contains square brackets in several paragraphs. Based on the number of brackets on the text, and in the best interest of time, I would like to establish a contact group for this item. The contact group will be co-chaired by Mrs. Ntakadzeni Shidada from South Africa and Mr. Werner Schenkel from Germany. The mandate for this contact group would be focusing on resolving the text in brackets in paragraphs 4, 6, 9, 11A, and the annex of the draft decision. Excuse me. I see no objection. The contact group will meet tonight at 7:30 p.m. Please check the screens for details. Thank you. Give me 1 minute. Let me sip some water. Thank you. We are now moving on to the next item. The next item is item 27 of the CBD COP agenda, synthetic biology. I remind you that this has been considered in depth by SAPSTR 24, and a draft decision has been reflected in document CBD COP-15-2. While the subsidiary body on scientific, technical, and technological advice made great progress In the consideration of this matter, agreement could not be reached on all aspects of the draft decision. Therefore, the text that you have before you will still contain square brackets in several paragraphs. Considering the number of brackets in the text, and in the best interest of time, I would like to establish a contact group for this item. The COP and the MOP have previously requested a coordinated and a non-duplicative approach on the items of risk assessment under the Cartagena Protocol and the synthetic biology under the Convention, due to the cross-cutting nature of these issues, as well as the fact that some technical aspects that are part of discussions under both items. Based on this, I propose that the co-chairs of the contact group on risk assessment, namely Ms. Ntakadzeni Shidada from South Africa and Mr. Werner Schenkel from Germany, also serve as co-chairs of the contact group on synthetic biology. The mandate for the contact group will be to focus on resolving the text in brackets on the draft decision and prioritizing the issues around the process for horizon scanning, monitoring, and assessment. The contact group will meet tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Please check the screens for details. Finally, I'd like to remind participants to refrain from recording in any contact group. Okay. I see we have a request for the floor. Brazil, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the matter of synthetic biology, we will join you on your decision to establish a contact group. Nevertheless, we cannot focus on only solving the brackets in this case. We will note, once again, the inconclusiveness of the ad hoc technical expert group on synthetic biology being a new and emerging issue. Furthermore, we note the group's conclusion that most living organisms already developed are currently under research and development through techniques of synthetic biology, including organisms containing engineered gene drives, fell under the definition of LMOs as per Cartagena Protocol. Madam Chair, this shows that there is no urgency to discuss this matter. At the same time, we are facing the most important and pressing issue of discussing the GBF, which should count on our full attention. Therefore, we will be suggesting in the contact group that the COP decides to defer consideration of this agenda item to its 16th session. And I conclude with that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Brazil. May I just get 1 minute to consult? Thank you. Thank you. So we have agreement to have our contact group, and that issue will be raised at that point. Thank you for your consideration. Okay. So now we will move to the next item. The next item is item 20A. That's marine and coastal biodiversity, ecologically or biologically significant marine areas. I will now give the floor to the Secretariat to introduce this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please note that there are two EBSA-related issues addressed under this agenda item, based on the outcomes of the 23rd and the 24th meetings of SBSTA, respectively. At its 23rd meeting, SBSTA considered the results of the regional workshop to facilitate the description of ecologically or biologically significant marine areas in the Northeast Atlantic Ocean, and adopted recommendation 23/4 on this issue. At its 24th meeting, SBSTA considered the issue of marine and coastal biodiversity. At the first session of SBSTA, 2 separate conference room papers were produced for marine and coastal biodiversity, one on EBSAs and one on the conservation and sustainable use of marine and coastal biodiversity. We will deal with the issue of EBSAs under this agenda item and the issue of conservation and sustainable use of marine and coastal biodiversity under agenda item 20B. The CRP produced during the first session of SBSTA 2024 reflected input received through plenary sessions and a contact group. The CRP was then taken up at the resumed session of SBSTA 24, during which an additional contact group session was convened on EBSAs. Unfortunately, SBSTA's work on this issue was not completed during the meeting due to the extraordinary circumstances prevailing. This was noted in SBSTA Recommendation 24/10. In this recommendation, SBSTA also requested the Executive Secretary, in advance of COP-15, to facilitate consultations among parties, other governments, and relevant stakeholders, including indigenous peoples and local communities, women, and youth, with a view to advancing discussions on this topic, and recognize that the outcomes of these consultations will help to form the basis for focused deliberations on this issue at COP-15. Pursuant to this, an online discussion forum on EBSAs was convened from 14 to 21 September 2022, the report of which is made available as document CBD/EBSA/OM/2022/2/1. I wish to also remind delegates that the SBSTA chair welcomed proposals for textual input from parties and observers on the CRP during SBSTA, which the Secretariat compiled and made available as document CBD/SBSTA/24/INF/41. The Conference of the Parties will be invited to consider this agenda item on the basis of SBSTA recommendations 23/4 and 24/10. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. As the Secretariat has noted, issues under this item were considered both by SBSTA 23 and SBSTA 24. As we have a clean text in SBSTA Recommendation 23/4 regarding the results of the EBSA Regional Workshop for the Northeast Atlantic Ocean, I will convert this text into a conference room paper for review and approval by the working group on Friday. As SBSTA 24 was unable to complete deliberations on modalities for modifying the description of EBSAs and for describing new EBSAs, I would like to establish a contact group to focus on the unresolved issues with a review to preparing a consensus text that can be presented to you as a CRP. I propose the co-chairs of this contact group to be Ms. Marie-May Jeremy of the Seychelles and Ms. Renée Sauvé of Canada. The contact group will work on the basis of a non-paper prepared based on work of SBSTA 24 and the online forum. The contact group will first meet on the evening of Thursday, 8th December. The room will be announced on the monitors. I see no objection. Thank you. We will now move to the next item. This item is item 20B, Conservation and Sustainable Use of Marine and Coastal Biodiversity. I will now give the floor to the Secretariat to introduce this item. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At its 24th meeting, SBSTA considered the issue of marine and coastal biodiversity, as I previously noted. The CRP produced during the first session of SBSTA on the conservation and sustainable use of marine and coastal biodiversity reflected input received through plenary sessions and a contact group. The CRP was then taken up at the resumed session of SBSTA 24. Unfortunately, SBSTA's work on this issue was not completed during the meeting due to the extraordinary circumstances prevailing. This was noted in SBSTA Recommendation 24-9. In this recommendation, SBSTA also requested the Executive Secretary, in advance of COP-15, to facilitate consultations among parties, other governments, and relevant stakeholders, including Indigenous peoples and local communities, women, and youth, with a view to advancing discussions on this topic, and recognized that the outcomes of these consultations will help to form the basis for focused deliberations on this issue at COP-15. Pursuant to this, an online discussion forum on the conservation and sustainable use of marine and coastal biodiversity was convened from 8 to 15 June 2022, the report of which is made available as document CBD/MCB/OM/2022/1/1. I wish to also remind delegates that the SBSTA chair welcomed proposals for textual input from parties and observers on the CRP during SBSTA, which the Secretariat compiled and made available as document CBD/SBSTA/24/INF/42. The Conference of the Parties will be invited to consider this agenda item on the basis of SBSTA Recommendation 24-9. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. This, as he said, this item was considered by SBSTA 24, which was unable to complete deliberations on this issue. Therefore, I would like to ask the contact group, which we established to consider outstanding issues related to EBSAs under the previous item, to also address the conservation and sustainable use of marine and coastal biodiversity with a view to preparing a consensus text that can be presented to you as a CRP. The contact group will work on the basis of a non-paper prepared based on work of SBSTA 24 and the online forum. As previously announced, the contact group will first meet in the evening of Thursday, 8th December. I propose that the first half of the session will address the issue of conservation and sustainable use of marine and coastal biodiversity. That's 7:30 to 9 p.m. And the second half will address the way forward on EBSAs. If necessary, the contact group will meet again on Friday to complete its work. I see no objection. Thank you. We will now move to the next item. The next item is item 15 of the Cartagena Protocol, MOP, detection and identification of living modified organisms. First, I would like to invite the Secretariat to introduce this item. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In decision CP-911, parties to the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety were invited to submit information on A, their capacities and needs with regard to detection and identification of living modified organisms, and B, a list of laboratories including information on the specific activities carried out by such laboratories. In the meeting of the parties also requested the Executive Secretary to continue the facilitation of online discussions of the network of laboratories for the detection and identification of living modified organisms, as well as to continue capacity building efforts. The Executive Secretary has prepared document CBD/CP/MOP-10 10/10/Rev1, summarizing the actions undertaken in response to the requests in decision CP-911. The document also contains other relevant information on the detection and identification of living modified organisms. Suggested elements for a draft decision are presented in Section 4 of the document. These elements also have been reproduced in the compilation of draft decisions. Additional information is available in information document CBD/CP/MOP/10/INF4, containing a complete summary of the submissions on the detection and identification of living modified organisms. Furthermore, a summary of the outcomes of the network of laboratories for the detection and identification of living modified organisms has also been made available as information document CBD/CP/MOP/10/INF5. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. This item has not been addressed by a subsidiary body, therefore we'll have the first reading during this session. I will now open the floor for interventions, giving priority to parties to the Cartagena Protocol. I will take the first intervention from Egypt, followed by European Union, then Colombia. Egypt, you have the floor.
Thanks, Madam. Egypt welcomes the text of the draft decision on the detection and identification of living modified organisms. And in this regard, we would like to highlight the importance of the detection and identification of LMOs, as it is the first step to help supporting the operationalization of other provisions of the protocol. There is an urgent need to ensure that parties are able to access sequence information and reference material so that they can sufficiently conduct detection and identification. And in this regard, we must be forward-looking as the technology are developing at very rapid pace. Synthetic biology and other new genetic techniques such as genome editing will be increasingly used. Hence, our ability to detect and identify LMOs resulting from those applications, including their component and product, must be also keep pace. Egypt welcomes the continued work of the network of laboratories for the detection and identification of living modified organisms, but we expect it's also work on the development of methods and conduct capacity building on the detection and identification of organisms, products, and components of synthetic biology and new technology. In this regard, we also welcome the Biosafety Technical Series 5 training manual on the detection and identification of living modified organisms in the context of the Cartagena Protocol, but call for it to be updated on the new detection method. We call for increased financing to support parties' action towards the detection and identification of living modified organisms, as well as the necessary capacity building. Thanks, Madam.
Thank you, Egypt. And yes, we want to go fast, but please next time speak slowly so that our interpreters can pick everything up. Thank you, Egypt. We'll now hear from the European Union, followed by Colombia. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am speaking on behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states. The EU and its member states appreciate the finalization of a training manual on the detection and identification of LMOs, and we suggest to include a paragraph to welcome its publication. We suggest that the language in the preamble regarding the implementation plan and the capacity building action plan is updated to reflect that these are two independent plans. In the same paragraph, we further recommend that, along with Goal A8 of the two plans, Goal A6 related to unintentional transboundary movement of LMOs, and Goal A7 related to handling, transport, packaging, and identification requirements are also reflected. We would like to ask for clarification from the Executive Secretary regarding the meaning of the wording newly developed LMOs used in paragraph 3 of the draft decision. We would also like to ask for clarification from the Executive Secretary regarding the request contained in paragraph 10A of the draft decision to continue the work mandated under decision CP-9/11. As part of the work has already been done, we would like to understand what is the work still remaining in the mandate. Finally, we think paragraphs 1 to 4 of the draft decision could be rephrased as preambular paragraphs, as they do not seem to be operational paragraphs. Our proposal will be provided to you in writing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, European Union. We'll now hear from Colombia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colombia thanks to the Secretariat for the document presented, and we consider that the draft decision about the agenda item 15 on the detection and identification of living modified organisms is well structured and is a good basis for the negotiation. We have specific text amendments on paragraph 3, 6, and 10C regarding on the living modified organism resulting from new technologies, which we will send by writing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Colombia. We'll now hear from Brazil. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. We welcome this draft decision, and we present some comments. On the detection and identification of living modified organisms, Brazil believes the decision should concentrate on detection and identification of LMOs that may have adverse effects on the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity. We suggest that PP4, OP4, OP5, and OP7 should be modified to that effect. Furthermore, we suggest the exclusion of the reference to synthetic biology from OP1, as there is no consensus on this being a new and emerging issue. On the text of the decision that ascertains a lack of accessible validation reference materials, we also propose deletion, given that there are revised and available sources on LMO detection. On the other hand, on paragraph 3, we propose modifying the text by recognizing the need for capacity building activities instead of simply recognizing the lack of experience for new detection techniques. Finally, we suggest including the need of supporting developing countries in OP7 and OP9, and we'll be sending all those comments in writing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brazil. We'll now hear from Namibia, followed by South Africa. Namibia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Namibia supports Egypt on behalf of Africa. Namibia also welcomes the decision on the detection. Namibia has made progress in the implementation of its national biosafety framework, including the establishment and operationalization of its national GMO testing laboratory. Namibia, however, noted with concern of lack of technical skills at a national level. Namibia therefore requests the Secretariat to review and finalize the manual on the detection and identification of LMOs and urge the continuous support of capacity building as technology emerges. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Namibia. We'll now hear from South Africa, followed by Côte d'Ivoire, and then Malawi. South Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. South Africa recognizes the relevance and applicability of the field of detection and identification of living modified organisms relevant to synthetic biology and notes the outcome of the online discussions requested in paragraph 17 of decision 14/19 on experience with the detection and identification of the organisms, components and products of synthetic biology. South Africa notes that current tools could be implemented for the detection and identification of the organisms, components and products of synthetic biology. We encourage cooperation on transboundary movement of LMOs at the regional level to take necessary measures to avoid adverse effects on the conservation and sustainable use of biological diversity. Finally, South Africa further requests the Global Environment Facility to continue to provide support for regional projects that could support parties' actions towards detection and identification of living modified organisms, and in particular, that could promote North-South and South-South sharing of experiences. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, South Africa. We'll now hear from Cote d'Ivoire, followed by Malawi, then Kenya. You have the floor, Cote d'Ivoire.
Merci.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Côte d'Ivoire wishes to support what was said by the Africa Group by Egypt. So we would like to thank the Secretariat for this draft decision. It marks important progress in actually dealing with the use of LMOs and the associated potential risks. And Côte d'Ivoire is satisfied to see the setting up of a network of labs for the detection and identification of LMOs, and we await modalities for how this is going to be operationalized. Côte d'Ivoire also welcomes this decision, where we see the importance given to capacity building, even if this has not been made specific enough. And Côte d'Ivoire would like to reiterate the need for financing for parties to be able to operationalize national activities to help with detection and identification of LMOs. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Côte d'Ivoire. Now we'll hear from Malawi, followed by Kenya, then New Zealand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malawi supports the intervention by Egypt on behalf of Africa on the draft decision on detection and identification of living modified organisms. Malawi recognizes the importance of enhancing capacity in living modified organism detection and identification to support compliance, monitoring, and transboundary movement of living modified organisms. Malawi therefore calls for support in this focus area, realizing that there is very limited capacity in most developing countries in the detection and identification of living modified organisms. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Kenya, followed by New Zealand, and then we will move on to the non-parties. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. Kenya supports the position taken by Egypt on behalf of the African Group in regard to detection and identification of living modified organisms. Kenya further supports the request to synthesize the information submitted as per paragraph 6 of the draft decision by parties on their experience with the new detection techniques, detection of unauthorized living modified organisms, and developing reference materials, as well as the ongoing collaborations involving national and regional laboratories, and to enhance capacity building in the field of detection and identification of living modified organisms. We submit, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenya. We'll now hear New Zealand, and there's another party, Republic of Korea. So New Zealand, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I will take up as little time as possible. New Zealand welcomes the publication of the Manual on Detection and Identification of LMOs as one of the many tools that parties can use when working towards implementing national detection and identification of LMOs. We further support efforts in capacity building in the detection and identification of LMOs in a manner consistent with the implementation and capacity building plans of the protocol, also under consideration at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from Republic of Korea now. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Republic of Korea appreciates the efforts of the Secretariat and the parties to implement the Cartagena Protocol. Korea has successful risk management experiences for unintentional environmental release of LMOs over the past 5 years. In this process, we have accumulated many knowledges in the detecting and identifying to manage these LMOs, and our experience will be helpful to other countries. So Korea recognizes the importance of information sharing, and we welcome the decision to encourage continuous cooperation, such as the exchange of experience and information sharing among the parties to develop laboratory network to strengthen their capacity of LMO detection and identification. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from Argentina. Please, Argentina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President. My delegation would like to express that Argentina presents all the capabilities for detection and identification. As such, in general terms, we support the document in our capacity of observer. We would like, though, to echo Brazil's suggestion to consider the omission of the references to synthetic biology and MBT identified in the text. We are concerned that terms like synthetic biology, in the absence of an internationally agreed description and/or definition, may include in its scope and regulation products derived from new breeding techniques, including techniques such as gene editing. Products derived from MBTs have a regulatory status in Argentina and in the region, similar to products derived from conventional techniques and therefore differentiated from products derived from transgenesis. In our case, products categorized as synthetic biology are equivalent to LMOs and therefore are treated within the regulatory framework of it, while there is no precise definition that merits separating it from it. Comments in line with this statement will be submitted electronically later. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Argentina. I know there were some clarification questions asked. Since we have no more requests for the floor, I will turn the floor over to the Secretariat to answer some of those clarifications asked by some parties. Secretariat, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for the question for clarification. Regarding the term newly developed LMOs, this term was used to capture a variety of terminology that were submitted to the Secretariat during the submission of information on detection and identification of living modified organisms. The term newly developed LMOs was chosen to encompass LMOs with either new genetic elements, new gene cassettes, new stacked events, new junctions, and/or unknown sequences, among others. Since there's not been a decision regarding new breeding techniques and synthetic biology, the term LMOs produced through new biotechnologies was used in the information documents. Regarding paragraph 10A on the draft decision under consideration now, on continuing the work mandated under decision CP-9/11, this paragraph was intended to cover the ongoing work, such as continuing collecting information and making information relevant to detection and identification of LMOs, mandated on paragraph 7A of decision CP-9/11, and convening the network of laboratories for the detection and identification of living modified organisms as mandated on paragraph 8A of decision CP-9/11. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. After hearing your interventions, I will take some time to consult and come back to you without we proceed with this item. So please give me a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So what we'll do is have we will receive your interventions. Some of them haven't been uploaded as yet. We'll review them. We'll do informal consultations with you, make certain decisions, and then based on that, we'll prepare a CRP. Is that acceptable? Yes? And please note that we will also suggest that the paragraph 9 related to the GEF be moved to the part of the draft decision on financial mechanism, as I've said before, so that guidance on that can be consolidated and transmitted to the COP. Is that acceptable? Thank you. Now, you've been so gracious and helpful and brief, and we worked hard to get through the 9 items that were set before us for this session. So I'm asking, yes, it's in your hands. Are we able to take advantage of this extra time and maybe perhaps make a head start on the items that we would have discussed in tomorrow morning schedule? Is this something that this working group with the people who are here can do? Is this something that you'd be open to? So what I'm asking is if we can perhaps start with the agenda items that we would have been doing in tomorrow's session for working group 2. Is this something that would be acceptable? We would begin with the consideration of agenda items 7A and 7B under the Cartagena Protocol. I will give you a few minutes to mull over it and think about this, because we all have a heavy agenda ahead of us, and we want to save time where we can, because we are just day 1. So I'll give you a few minutes. Thank you for your consideration. It does not appear to me at this stage that there are any objections. Is that correct? It appears to be correct, so we may be able to continue, starting with item 7. Okay, I see we have 2 requests for the floor. We have Norway, followed by the European Union. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Lead or Co-Chair. Norway would like some more time to consider whether we can move on to the agenda items for tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And the EU?
No, that's Commission.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are ready to continue for the agenda item 7, but unfortunately we would like to use some time before tomorrow's working group 2, and we are not able at this moment to continue with the agenda item on financial mechanisms and resources. And please give me a sec. And we can confirm we are able to continue with the agenda item 17 on Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol.
All right, thank you. And I see Brazil also has a request for the floor. Brazil? Yes? The floor is yours. Soon. There we go.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations on your appointment. We trust on your guidance to move us forward. And exactly as we trust your guidance move forward and understand that you've been doing an excellent job with this first contact with documents that are well known by everybody, we fail to understand the rationale of wasting our precious time and limited time you have during this COP to move forward. We understand that all time is precious to be used, and you fail to understand why you can't simply continue as you have proposed, and you've been doing very well recalling us what are the issues under consideration and explaining what your suggestions to move forward. Brazil is ready to continue, and we fully support you in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Just a minute, please. I think Norway indicated they needed a bit more time. Are they back? Are they able to speak now? Yes, it seems so. Norway, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We agree with the EU that we can go further on with item 7 and 17, but that we would like not to continue with item 10 and 7A and B of the Nagoya. Thank you.
Thank you. Give me a minute for consultation. I'll be back. Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank you for your patience. So I'm back. So I have a proposal for you, and because you know we always like consensus to move forward. So I'm proposing that we attempt to do 7A and 7B for the Cartagena Protocol, and then 17 for the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol. And if there's time, we would do item 8, measures to assist in capacity building and capacity development. So the idea is start with 7A, 7B, which is the Cartagena Protocol, the implementation plan, capacity building, then go to 17 of the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol. And then if there's time, we do item 8, which is measures to assist in capacity building and capacity development. Is this something that we have consensus on? It seems that some people are still speaking among themselves. Seems that it's okay for others. Do I get the impression this is something that we could go forward with? Is this something, yes? Yes, I don't know if there are any strong objections to continue with 7A, 7B for the Cartagena Protocol, that's implementation plan, capacity plan, and then do item 17, which is Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol. And then if there's time, item 8, which is measures to assist in capacity building and capacity development. Well, I'm not seeing any requests for the floor. I'm not seeing anybody waving at me or looking at me with a furrowed brow. So I'm going to assume that we have, okay, I see there's a request from the IPLCs. Oh no, it went away. It went back. Okay. IPLC's 9. Could we hear from you, please?
Hello.
And could you identify yourself first before you speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm speaking on behalf of IIFB. IIFB welcomed the implementation plan for the Cartagena Protocol that is anchored in...
So just a minute, please, because we haven't begun. We haven't decided that we're going to do this as yet. So just hold a minute, and then we will open the items. If you just give us, if you could please give us that time. Thank you. Thank you for your consideration. Yes, so again, I'm asking the floor, is this a way that we can proceed? 7A, 7B for Cartagena Protocol, implementation plan and capacity building, then Kuala Lumpur, that's item 17, and then if there's time, item 8. Yes? Okay, I'm not seeing any strong objections, so I will proceed. Thank you for allowing us to do this, because we really are short on time. Therefore, we will begin on item 7 of the Cartagena Protocol MOP, Implementation Plan and Capacity Building Action Plan for the Cartagena Protocol. This item was considered by the subsidiary body on implementation at its third meeting. The SBI recommended 2 draft decisions for consideration under this item, one on the implementation plan and one on the capacity building action plan. The draft decisions are reproduced in the compilation of draft decisions for the COP-MOP of the Cartagena Protocol. The draft decision on the implementation plan is in Part A, under item 7 in the compilation, while the draft decision on the capacity building action plan is in Part B. Both draft decisions contain a lot of clean text. However, there are a number of brackets that would benefit from further discussion. Considering the number of brackets in the text and in the best interest of time, I would like to establish a contact group given the close connections between the implementation plan and the capacity building action plan. I propose that the contact group work on resolving the text in brackets in both plans. I propose that the contact group will be chaired by Rita Andorko from Hungary and Rigobert Nip from Cameroon. I see no objection in this way forward. The contact group will meet on Friday evening at 7:30 in room 230A. The contact group will be announced in the schedule. And I look forward to you bringing back 2 clean draft decisions. Yes. So now we're moving on. Just 1 minute, please. Thank you for your patience. Appreciate it. So now we will be taking up item 17 of the Cartagena Protocol, MOP Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol on Liability and Redress. I will give the floor to the Secretariat to introduce this item. Secretariat, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you will recall, the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol on Liability and Redress entered into force on 5 March 2018. Document CBD/CP/MOP/10/9 provides an overview of the status of the Supplementary Protocol on Liability and Redress in Section 2. Since the date of publication of the document, 3 more countries have become party to the instrument: Belgium, Nigeria, and Peru. Consequently, the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol now has 52 parties. As set out in Article 10 of the Supplementary Protocol, as well as in Decision CP-9/15, the Secretariat was requested to undertake a study on financial security mechanisms for consideration by the Conference of the Parties, serving as the meeting of the parties at its present meeting. Section 3 of the document contains information on the study on financial security mechanisms. An executive summary of the study is presented in the annex to the document. The study itself is presented as information document CBD/CP/MOP/10/INF/1. Decision CP-9/15 also requested parties to the supplementary protocol to designate a competent authority to perform the functions set out in Article 5 of the supplementary protocol, and to make the contact information of these authorities available through the Biosafety Clearing-House. Section 4 of the document provides information on progress in this regard. Since the document was issued, additional records on competent authorities have been published in the BCH, and there are now a total of 11 such records. Section 5 of the document contains a summary of key findings from the 4th national reports related to the implementation of the supplementary protocol. And finally, Section 6 contains some suggested elements for a draft decision, which are reproduced in the compilation of draft decisions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. The item has not been addressed by a subsidiary body. Therefore, we'll have the first reading during this session. I'll now open the floor for interventions. As this item is under the Cartagena Protocol, I'll give the priority to the list of speakers party to the protocol. I do not see any requests to the floor. Oh, yes, I see a request for the floor. Thank you. The European Union, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The European Union and its member states considered the entry into force of the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol in 2018 a big step forwards, and we are committed to continue the process of ratifying, accepting, approving, or acceding to the protocol following the requirements of national legislations. We welcome the progress made by many parties to the supplementary protocol towards its full implementation. However, the high number of parties to the Cartagena protocol that have not yet ratified the supplementary protocol is a matter of concern that requires immediate action. The mechanisms provided in the supplementary protocol are necessary and useful for the functioning of the Cartagena protocol. Undocumented spread of LMOs in the environment can and has occurred. In case this spread causes damage during transboundary movements, a clear and well-functioning approach to liability and redress is therefore essential. We therefore encourage parties that have not done so yet to ratify, accept, approve, or accede to the supplementary protocol. Chair, we are convinced that the capacity building and awareness raising are key to support the ratification and efficient implementation of the supplementary protocol. In this regard, we welcome the existence of a goal specific to the supplementary protocol in both the implementation plan and the capacity building action plan for the Cartagena protocol. We have also read the study on financial security mechanism with great interest and welcome its conclusion. We are of the opinion that the polluter pays principle should be duly taken into account when further developing these mechanisms in case where it's applicable. When it comes to amendments to the draft decision, we suggest to note with regret the limited number of parties to the Cartagena Protocol on biosafeties that have ratified the supplementary protocol. We also suggest that the language regarding the implementation plan and the capacity building action plan is updated to reflect that these are two independent plans. Finally, we suggest in the preamble of the decision to recall decision CP-9/15 and to note the information provided by parties in their 4th national reports relating to the supplementary protocol. Our proposals will be provided to you in writing.
Thank you, European Union. I see no other requests for the floor. Yes, I see one more from Brazil. Brazil, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. On this agenda item, we'd firstly recall that targets and indicators refer only to commitments of the parties to the supplementary protocol. And such, on this draft decision, we believe it's important to expressly state on OP-4 that activities in the capacity building action plan are applicable to the parties to the supplementary protocol. Furthermore, on OP-7, it is important to specify that damage from living modified organisms refers to biodiversity. Finally, I would conclude that on OP-1, instead of urging all parties to the Cartagena Protocol, we would suggest replacing it with invites all parties to the Cartagena Protocol, and we'll be submitting those comments in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. I see no further requests for the floor. I see we have more or less, we be able to move forward with the preparation of a conference room paper with the help of the Secretariat. Thank you. Thank you for no objection. So we'll move on to the next item, item 8. Give me a minute, please. Thank you for your patience. So we will be on to our next item, which is item 8 of the Nagoya Protocol MOP, measures to assist in capacity building and capacity development and measures to raise awareness of the importance of genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge. As you can see in the compilation of decisions, NP-MOP-4, add 5, there are 2 sections in the draft decision for this item. Section A of the draft decision addresses capacity building and development and was recommended by the subsidiary body in implementation at its 3rd meeting. The Executive Secretary has proposed the addition of a new paragraph for the MOP to endorse the long-term strategic framework on capacity development. Section B of the draft decision addresses awareness raising and is based on a note by the Executive Secretary prepared for this meeting. I now invite the Secretary to introduce the new document for this item. Secretariat, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In decision NP3/5, the Executive Secretary was requested to continue carrying out and facilitating capacity building activities to support the ratification and implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. In decision NP3/6, the Executive Secretary was requested to continue supporting the implementation of the awareness raising strategy through its capacity building activities and by encouraging the use of the toolkit on communication, education, and public awareness, including considerations on ABS. Furthermore, in the decision, the Executive Secretary was requested to seek feedback from parties, non-parties, and other relevant actors on the SEPA toolkit. In light of the above, the Executive Secretary prepared document CBD/NP/MOP/4/5 containing a progress report on measures to assist in capacity building and development and awareness raising, and suggested elements for draft decision on awareness raising. There are 4 affiliated information documents available. CBD/NP/MOP/4/INF/1 provides an overview of capacity building and development initiatives, providing direct support to countries for the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. CBD/NP/MOP/4/INF/2 provides an overview of access and benefit sharing capacity building tools and resources. CBD/NP/MOP/4/INF/3 contains a summary of the survey results evaluating the SEPA toolkit on ABS and getting feedback from parties on their awareness raising strategies. We also have included the report of the Informal Advisory Committee on Capacity Building for the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol on its 4th meeting, which is available as information document CBD/NP/CB-IAC/2019/1/4. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. As I said earlier, Section A of the draft decision is largely text coming from SBI, while Section B of the draft decision is new text. In this regard, I would also like to draw your attention to the annex in Section A. This annex was intended to be a reflection of the findings of the assessment and review of the Nagoya Protocol undertaken with the parties in 2018. Priorities A to D of the annex are taken directly from the decision NP-3/1, while priorities E and F emerged from the findings of the evaluation of the strategic framework on capacity building and development. When SBI 3 resumed in Geneva, new text was added to the annex, and other text was bracketed. To be consistent with the findings from the assessment and review, I propose that insertions be deleted and the text be unbracketed when preparing the CRP. Are there any objections? Okay, I see that there are no objections. Therefore, we'll have a first reading of Section B of the draft decision, and I now open the floor for your interventions. I will give priority in the list of speakers to parties to the Nagoya Protocol. I see European Union, you are the first to the floor. The floor is now yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The unit's member states stress the importance of awareness raising of the Nagoya Protocol, welcome the progress made in the implementation of the awareness raising strategy, and thank the Executive Secretary for the work undertaken. We support incorporating the elements of awareness raising strategy into the revision of the strategic framework for capacity building and development. We believe that the framework for communication strategy for the GBF is an important element also for raising awareness on access and benefit sharing and the Nagoya Protocol. Therefore, we would like to add an additional paragraph to the draft decision along the following lines. Welcomes the framework for communication strategy for the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, decision 15/ we will add later the number, of the Conference of the Parties, as an important element to raise awareness on access and benefit sharing and the related goal and target of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. We also have some small editorial suggestions, but they're just editorial. We will submit them in writing. Concerning the annex, we are fine with the approach suggested. We only have a small amendment to the title of the annex to reflect the word development after capacity building in line with the rest of the text of the decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, EU. I see the UK would like to take the floor. UK, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The UK is grateful for the work undertaken by the Executive Secretary during the intersessional period to implement, facilitate and support capacity building and development activities, and to develop awareness-raising resources through these activities, including the toolkit for the implementation of the Convention and its protocols. Capacity building and development and awareness-raising are of central importance for the effective implementation of the Nagoya Protocol, and despite the work that has been done, there is a need for continued focus. Furthermore, we believe that capacity building and development should firmly be based on the needs expressed in order to be effective. We welcome the update on progress of existing initiatives and resources supporting the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. On this basis, we support the findings and recommendations of the evaluation of the strategic framework for capacity building and development, including the continuation of the work by the Informal Advisory Committee on Capacity Building for the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. We do have some comments in the text which we will submit in writing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UK. I do not see any further requests for the floor. Oh, I see India. India, you may take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India appreciates the capacity building and development initiatives taken by the Secretariat. The resources available on the online portal are helpful to the stakeholders. And the e-learning modules on introduction to the Nagoya Protocol and the ABS Clearing-House are also useful tools that would contribute to the implementation of the protocol. Considering that sharing of information and experience contributes to capacity building, the initiatives undertaken by the parties which are available on the ABS would be very useful to the parties. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. It appears that I do not have any more requests for the floor. We have some common understanding on a draft decision. Therefore, as such, we will prepare a CRP with the help of the Secretariat that will include Section A on capacity building and development, as well as Section B on awareness raising, taking into account the views you have expressed today. I believe that we have come to the end of today's discussions. Thank you for your patience with us. Oh, yes, thank you for your patience with us, and thank you for working with us, because we know that we have a very long road ahead of us, but at least we've gotten through many of our items for tomorrow. You will see a schedule in tomorrow's for the new update, but I'll put the Secretariat on to give you logistical details. Just a minute. The Secretariat, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Oh. 3:30. Oh, this is after.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a reminder to delegates that you have 1 hour to upload your statements made during this session. Please kindly upload them within the next hour. And the contact group established on risk assessment will meet at 7:30 in room 230B. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So we will close the session for today. Thank you. We'll see you in the morning at 10 in this room. Thank you very much.
Only you, do. Look at that. Oh yeah, look at it. Only you. It's coming to the table input. And then if I mute what I'm sending to you guys, if I mute this. Guys, it's coming back to the table input. So fucking weird. So fucking weird. Yep, it's still coming back. Yep.